This episode of the Mike on Much podcast is in partnership with Jameson. Good things come in threes. I got my headphones on from the minute I'm up till the minute I go to bed. I got my headphones on every day of my life. Gonna wear them until I'm dead. Welcome to the Mike on Much podcast. I'm your host, Mike Vierman. I'm here with my friend and trusted producer, as always, Max Kerman. We're also here with our pop culture aficionado, Shane Cunningham. Intern Erica is working the dials. And we have a very special guest joining the podcast today, the host of Q, friend of Max, Tom Power. Tom, welcome.
Thanks for having me. I got to tell you, it's really nice to be here. Mike, you don't know this, but, when I go to work in the morning, I walk down John Street, right?
Yeah.
And I know you from this show, right? But I've never met you before, you know? And every now and then I'd see you at like one of these, can I curse on this thing?
Yeah.
So I'd see it like this, the fucking shows, the Arkell shows, right? and God love you though. I love going to them.
Yeah. I've attended a few, yeah.
And there, I saw you at the one the other day, the one that was upstairs. I don't know if we can talk about it, but
where was it?
It was during TIFF. There was a schmazoo kind of thing, right? anyway, but I know you from that. But I still never said hello, and I didn't know you, but I knew who you were from this thing. And I often walk past you, walking up John Street
because I live by the CBC.
Yeah, and you have a cool like old school Raptors things.
I do, yeah. A
and
bomber,
I'd see you, and I'd go like, well, I can't say hi. I don't know the guy, and I thought I'd stress you out. And plus, it's early in the morning. So now I tell you one thing, I was thinking about this on the way here. I was thinking it'll be so nice from now on when I walk down John Street to be able to go, hey, Mike, how's it going, buddy?
We get to say hi. Well, it's funny you say that because I know you, of course. I know who you are. We were at the Junos, I think, 2 years ago, last year, because Shane was nominated for directing a video along with Mark Myers for Arkell's.
Congrats, Shane.
Oh, thank you.
And they didn't win.
No. It's nice just to be nominated.
Sorry, didn't mean to bring it up. My apologies.
You were hosting, though. It was like the dinner.
The gala. Oh, yeah.
You were great. This is what I wanted to say. You're so good in that setting. Because I know you from Q, but I'd never seen you in that way.
And that gig is notoriously a very tough gig.
It seemed like a tough gig, and I was like, he's fucking killing it. He's so good at what he's doing.
Glad you were one of the 6 that were laughing. But I did look over at your table. And I felt like I had you.
So
except when, so I don't know if people listening to this know this, but the drummer for Arkell's,
Tim,
was once in the band. Wasn't he once in Serial Joe?
Yeah. What? Well, I think he played in Serial Joe's like solo project after Serial Joe was done. And so Tom made every one of his jokes at the gala dinner about Tim and Serial Joe. It was just like one, but it was really for an audience of one table. And by the way, there's about 100 tables in this room, but it was just a kind of at the end of every sentence, as you'd close your joke, there'd be a Serial Joe reference in there.
I didn't get it. I wasn't laughing because I didn't know that. I was like, "What's he talking about?"
Yeah,
this is crazy.
Tim was
fact.
in Serial Joe.
That's nuts.
I believe you challenged me to make like 3 or 4 Serial Joe jokes this year, and I knocked them all out.
Yeah. So what were you like? It's all a mistake.
I said
the first Shane remembers the hits.
I only remember one of the jokes, which was, tonight the wine at the Juno dinner is being picked out by Sam Roberts, and fun fact, your steaks are being cooked by the members of Serial Joe.
Oh,
and oh my God, sorry about that. That's it. I dropped all the fucking Perrier on the floor.
The water's down.
Don't open that up for a little while. And then there were just more jokes about just kind of making fun of Serial Joe the whole time. Anyway, I ended up getting an email from somebody who I'm not going to say who it was, and it was not a member of Serial Joe, but it was someone who was once part of the Serial Joe team.
Tim?
It was not Tim, and they sent me a picture of like a gold record or like a plaque or something, and it said like Serial Joe, Skid Row on it, and then it said like, laugh about this, buddy. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Fair enough.
You know what?
Fair is fair.
Still gonna make fun of him. Yeah. It didn't work. Still here making fun of him.
The lead singer of that band was in the Superman's Dead video.
He was. Yeah. I think we got some room in our heart for Serial Joe. Maybe.
I do, for sure. I was a big fan.
Yeah, I mean, did you know I just knew the Skid Row one, and I knew Mistake. They pushed a car because they couldn't drive it.
Yeah, I feel like your knowledge of like 90s Canadian alternative rock is pretty good.
Well, I grew up in Newfoundland, guys. You guys grew up with, Edgefest. Yeah. I grew up with Air Supply coming to Newfoundland once in a goddamn,
It was a big deal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, of course, we had nothing to do but watch much music, for Christ's sake.
Well, actually, the last time I ran into Tom was in the Starbucks at the basement of your building. And
really?
And we had a great little chat. And Tom said, when the fuck are you going to have me on the podcast? I was like, yeah, of course.
Because we were going to do it at the Junos.
That's right, yeah. And then you had a really nice tweet. You said like, it's such a beautiful thing in living in Toronto. I ran into Bruce Arthur.
Yeah.
Then I ran into Max from the Arkells. And then someone tweeted back saying, I thought the Arkells lived in Hamilton. Fuck those guys.
Yes.
People get very... And then there's some other stuff going on. Twitter. Crazy place.
Twitter.
But, Mikey, I want to know about your Philadelphia weekend. We're going to get you in a second. But
City of Brotherly Love.
Yeah.
I was there in a city of brotherly love. Tom, if you don't know, I was down in Philadelphia with my family. I have a wife and a daughter. Maybe you've seen me bringing her to daycare.
No, I haven't. That's nice to hear.
So I went down there with our good friend Sean Dawson, one of the Champagne boys, and his wife and their son Sebastian. I've never been to Philly, and we went down. Okay, so here's full disclosure. Like, the Raptors were playing Philly on the Sunday.
That's the main reason.
Well, what you do is when you're building a trip as a guy with the wife and a kid is you go, what can be like sort of the impetus for going down? It's like, this is the reason.
Yeah.
And then you go, how can we make this sort of like a thing that everybody enjoys?
Sure.
So what we did was we went the Friday, and then you get the full Friday and the Saturday and most of the Sunday with the family. And then Sunday night is like, let's have it. Let's go to a game. The families are staying back at the Airbnb. And I was so impressed with Philly as a city. Honestly, like, New York City is probably my favorite city in the world, but I thought Philly was this awesome sort of like combination. It had like this sort of grit and edge, and it's a historical city, obviously, and we loved everything about it. It was perfect for sort of all the reasons that you think it would be. And at the game that night, you messaged us because the Dirty Nil were in town on the Saturday night.
In Philadelphia.
We didn't realize that, so we didn't go to their show. They were like 3 blocks away from our Airbnb, but they were at the Philly game. I guess sitting like in the 200 section. Sean and I got like awesome seats because we were like, we're in Philly, fuck it, let's just spend the money. But we had a full empty row, so we snuck the nil down into our seats. So we got.
I was going to say, and full disclosure, Erica's dating Kyle, the drummer of the Nil, and the Nil have played on cue. So this is a nice little thing. And we've hung out in Philadelphia.
The only time I've ever been to Philadelphia was at an Arkells show.
Yeah, there you go. And the Lights show, which is, anyway, everything's happening.
It's all connected.
But all I know is that you guys linked up because I put you guys in a group text message. And then the next thing I knew, I saw Kyle riding a bull at a cowboy bar. Basically.
Yeah, that happened. Yeah.
Were you there?
Oh, I was there. Fuck yeah. $3 a beer. Why wouldn't I be there?
It's good. I've done that before. It's pretty good. I've done that. Yeah, I've ridden the bull before. It's all right.
It's not bad at all. But yeah, like everybody, it was a really good hang. What did Kyle say about that night? Well, because we ended up, their tour manager, the Nil, who are on tour right now, they were like, well, what are we doing after? So we go to this bar afterward, which is part of like the Philadelphia sports
After the
complex.
basketball game?
After the ball game, we go. Kyle rides the bull, gets thrown off violently. Didn't last very long. We're drinking these $3 beers. And then me and Sean were like, we kind of want to go to the casino. So all the Nil guys are like, we want to go to the Philly casino. So then their tour manager's like, well, I got the van. Let's all get in the van. So now we're in the Nil van going to the Philadelphia casino. What did Kyle say about that evening, Erica?
He didn't, I'll be honest with you, he didn't tell me much. But, yeah, I got like one message from him that night, and it just said, we went to the casino, I lost it all. I said, oh no.
That's a lot. That seems a bit.
Do you
grim.
share a
Yeah.
bank account with him?
Absolutely not.
They've been dating for like 9 months.
I don't
Did
know.
you lose your-
Did you lose your tuition on that? Did you lose your, is that why you're here? Is that how you ended up doing this? Just trying to pay back the gambling debts for your poor old. Yeah, I get it.
Well, you guys were in Philadelphia, Max, Tom. Did you guys go to the casino?
We definitely did not. Because we were opening for Lights. Was that? Yeah. What were you doing down there?
A radio professional, by the way, nodding at your questions, by the way. Real great. Real great. Yeah, real great broadcaster here going. Good one. I was there with the missus, and we were there we went to New York, and then we were there for like a couple of days, and we saw that you guys were playing. I think you invited us out.
Oh, that's why.
So we took the train out, and we saw you guys, and we saw you guys open for Lights. I remember it being a very good show. I remember it was like one of the times where I went, not to butter your bread here, but I remember going, oh geez, I didn't know that's sort of what an opening band is supposed to do. I felt like an opening band is supposed to challenge in some ways the band to step it up a little bit. I have my friends of mine in Great Big Sea used to say that to me. To try to get it, we would open for shows. My band would open for bands, and they would just try to challenge them a little bit. Make them work a little harder, right?
By the way, speaking of Great Big Sea, not to digress here, there was an opening of a new theater in Toronto, the Paradise, which is at Bloor and Ossington.
Yeah.
And I went to this like kind of pre-gala opening.
Yeah, I was supposed to. I didn't make it.
Yeah, it ended up being a great time, and basically a bunch of great kind of singer-songwriters from the GTA were performing. So like Justin Rutledge, who's a great folk singer, Great Lake Swimmers performed, the Skydiggers played, and they're all top tier talent. And then Alan Doyle, great big C singer, walks through the lobby. He'd just come from the studio. He's like, I just came from the studio. Where's the stage? I got to go play right now. I was like, I think you got like 10 minutes, Alan. It's fine. So he's walking through the lobby. He's like, okay. So then like 10 minutes later, he like wanders onto the stage, doesn't have a guitar. He just has a glass of wine. And he's like, these kind of places, my mother says we need to respect
What
these.
is this?
Tom, I was going to say, what is going on here?
Is Alan Doyle Polish in the 30s? Like, what is this fucking accent?
This is my Newfoundland accent.
Oh, well, there, I must get up on the stage there.
And he gives his...
You have a lot of friends from Newfoundland.
Well,
you spent a lot of time.
You should hear
here.
my other accents.
Max has been doing
worse.
voice work lately on the podcast.
yeah.
You should have heard 2 episodes ago.
I want to continue on with the accent. Please continue. What did Alan say?
So, from...
Wow.
From where we're from, these are great halls, and when these kind of places...
Really committing.
Anyway,
This is actually Max speaking, not me, just in case you were wondering.
So he has this. So he gives a speech about like how sort of the music halls are an important place and we need to respect them. And back where we're from, it's like we really celebrate them. And I'd like to sing a traditional song. And so keep in mind, everybody else in the night has been playing guitar and singing songs. But Alan just comes out with a glass of wine. And then he sings this traditional Newfoundland kind of song that sounds familiar, but of course I've never heard of it. But it just has that kind of Celtic, would you say Celtic Newfoundland?
I would say sort of that feel.
Yeah, that feel. Yeah. And literally, people were a little chatty for the first 3 acts. Nobody says a word. I'm like, and I went with your brother Greg.
Yeah, he said that Alan Doyle was amazing.
Yeah, and I don't know if Greg is a great big C fan necessarily, or
You've
an
never
Alan
seen
Doyle.
his tattoo?
Yeah.
I kid, of course.
And he was he basically blew the whole room away, and he kind of just proved like, oh, that's why Alan Doyle's Alan Doyle. Like, everyone knows Great Big Sea, everyone can recognize his face, and if you don't see him, you just kind of think, oh, there's the guy. I know a couple of his songs.
He's right there.
He's right there. Yeah, you're looking at Amy Adams in the poster in the room.
Like in a room full of immense talent, he just comes in and he blows the room
and he
away.
steals the show,
Yeah.
just like that, because he does something that's totally unexpected. And then he picks up his guitar, he plays his hit, he plays a cover, and then he plays his hit to finish the thing. I was like, man, that's how you fucking do it.
Did he do Ordinary Day?
He did Ordinary Day.
Oh my God! Imagine just being able to do that.
Yeah.
Imagine just being able to at any moment haul out Ordinary Day and make everyone's night immediately.
Yeah, then that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And then it was awesome because then Cuddy, it was going to be closing that, Jim Cuddy of Blue Rodeo. And like kind of as Alan's on stage, and they know each other. They know each other probably for 3 decades at this point. Jim's like kind of heckling him because Jim heckles everybody basically. And then Jim comes up and he opens with Till I'm Myself Again. And it's just like, it was just so awesome to see like the 2 alpha dogs in the room just fucking slay. And, and I don't think Greg has necessarily seen Blue Rodeo either. And Greg was like, this is the fucking best. Like, you just to see that top tier talent in a beautiful theater. And it wasn't even particularly busy, but it was just like a really cool kind of get together. And to see it up close with your own eyes was awesome.
What did Serial Joe do?
Anyway, let's talk about Tom a little bit.
Well, I was going to say, we're talking about the East Coast, talking about Alan Doyle. Going back to your beginnings, Tom, you're obviously a musician, you're in a band. How do you get into doing what you're doing? Are you sort of, growing up, are you more like, I'm obsessed with music and writing songs? Or are you more like, I'm obsessed with entertainment and sort of like being a personality, radio, being on TV? Like, where did your sort of like interests lie?
I was into music. I played music since I was a kid. When I was around, I took piano lessons when I was about 7 or 8 years old and stuff like that. And then, and then when I was about 13, my dad, asked me if I wanted to learn how to play the guitar. I think it's a familiar story, about at a certain point, do you want to learn guitar? And essentially, there's that kind of moment whether you either stick with it or you don't, right? And I was kind of playing piano. It didn't really mean anything to me, but the guitar, I really hung on to. And then I practiced a lot, but then, and I wasn't really writing songs. I was playing Newfoundland has a long tradition of kind of big sing-alongs, a big sing-along culture. And my family, while not being professional musicians, are big proponents of the sing-along. In fact, I know you love that as well, Max. And I get, Boxing Day, essentially, my whole family would show up, all my aunts and uncles and all that stuff would get together, and we'd all sit around and we'd sing songs for like 6 hours.
That's
right?
so cool.
And it was what we did every single.
And there's a tradition known as the kitchen party.
Yeah, the kitchen party. This would be in our living room.
This would be in the living room. Is the kitchen party kind of more of an after-hours affair necessarily? Because I just love that expression where everybody gets together in the little kitchens and sing songs.
The kitchen party is a function of pre-electricity Newfoundland, where there was no electric heat, so the only heat would come from the stove or from the oven.
I love that.
So you would kind of put coals down. or you would light the fire, and therefore the party would have to be in the kitchen. Right, so we'd be in what they call the parlor, like the living room or something like that, and we'd all sing songs together, right? And that became a big part of my learning how to play the guitar so that other people could sing. When I was about 15, I heard the "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou" soundtrack.
Sure,
Changed my
Coen
life
Brothers film
for the rest of my life. It was entirely, completely changed. A lot of people's lives were. And then I kind of discovered folk music, and then that became my life, like traditional music and folk music, bluegrass music and country music. I'm still kind of in that world. And then I went to Ireland with a group I was playing with, kind of not a great kind of, can't say that, a very good fiddle-y group I was playing bass for, because, wanted to meet the gals. And and I was playing banjo around the same time. I started taking banjo lessons in St. John's, so I became pretty serious about the banjo. And then I came back home, and I really liked Irish music. I really liked the Pogues. I really liked Andy Irvine and Paul Brady. I really liked, traditional music of Ireland. And my brother-in-law, Dwayne Andrews, he's one of probably the best guitarists on the East Coast right now. Great, Django Reinhardt style guitar player. He said to me, this Irish music that you really like, it's actually here. There's some of that here. And I went, oh yeah, there's like Newfoundland music, I think. And frankly, Great Big Sea, while being amazing, were not cool to me at the time. You know what I mean? They weren't cool. I was into weird, like super weird, authentic music, or I was into like punk, or I was into like not that.
As young people tend to sort of go
right?
opposite of what's popular.
Yeah, exactly. So then I started to realize that the music that I was coming up with was cool, but then there was this great untapped resource of traditional music. So I did a degree in folklore at Memorial University.
What kind of degree is that?
A folklore, a BA in folklore.
You
didn't know that about me?
No.
I did a BA in folklore, yeah.
Is that like folklore music?
So
what is that?
It's the study of the things that we do and that we don't teach one another formally. It's like the study of the things that we make, and the study of the things that we cook, and the things that we sing, and the things that we create.
That's the most Newfoundland degree I've ever fucking heard.
Yeah,
folklore.
It's a legit credit.
Yeah.
An undergrad in kitchen party.
Yeah, it's an undergrad in kitchen party. But it was the study of like narrative, like Korean immigrants to Canada who, while going across on the water, would quilt their experience. And like, why? What does that mean that they would do that? Or
sure.
Like, what does it mean that you would cook a certain thing on a certain day? But really, I was just really obsessed with music and traditional music. So I would go around and I would interview people. That was part of my degree. I would have to interview people like that old thing where you'd go like, so sing me this old song, and I'd walk into their house and I'd go, sing me that old ballad you sang from the start in the 1700s, and they'd go like, who the fuck are you, man? Get the fuck out of here. Like, no. So I learned that you had to warm up and you had to like get to know people, and getting to know the person behind it was really important. So I was deep in folklore. I was in the middle of my degree. I was working. I loved radio because I just kind of liked it. My brother had a college show that I thought was kind of cool, and I just liked playing music. So I came on. I started playing music. So I got a gig at the college station. I worked at VOCM, which is kind of like the News Talk 1010, like the news on the 5s, news on the 10s thing, reading the news. And then I did a gig for a choir. Tim Baker from Hey Rosetta and I did this gig for a choir. We emceed a thing, and then there happened to be a CBC producer there who came up to me and asked if I'd like to pitch a show. For like a special on folk music, because I was this young guy, I was 21, and I was really, really into folk music, and there weren't a whole lot of people like that. And they asked if I'd pitch a show, and I had no way of knowing that CBC Radio 2 at the time was changing formats from an all classical format to a more varied format. And then next thing you know, they called me and asked if I wanted to do the show.
You end up being the youngest host since Peter Jennings.
Yeah, and he was like 7 fucking years old. So I'm not going to beat that record anytime soon. But yeah, it ended up really working out. So that's kind of how I got into it. It was through folk music and like folklore. And then that's kind of how it happened.
But you're a funny guy. Who are your like comedic heroes? Like,
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Really? Because I'm Jay Onrait. He was like, Letterman's my guy. Like
Conan O'Brien.
Yeah.
Conan O'Brien is my. I think you too, right? Yeah. I was doing some reading up. Shane, I was reading
researching
up
for this.
On Mike on the Much Music website, there's like a terribly outdated write up on us. Yeah.
There you go. I read that.
Yeah,
Conan's the best. I do my research. Conan.
Have you listened to his pod, by the way?
Whose? Conan's? I listen
podcast.
to it every single week.
It's
Don't
the
you like
best.
it?
I just listened to the one this week with Jack Black.
I like just about all of them. Yeah. So but being funny wise, I've never really been professionally funny. So it's all been just done stuff that comes out. So Conan is my number one, and he's also my dream guest and all that other stuff.
What's fascinating though is it's like so being a music guy and then taking the gig as sort of like a radio host. Was there ever sort of a trepidation when it comes to if I do this it might be at the expense of my music, or were you like all entertainment's entertainment and I just want to be in the biz?
Yeah, I mean, I feel that way a lot. There are times where it was never about being in the biz necessarily. In some ways it was about trying to avoid that. But I found myself, really being sort of committed to the work I got to do at the Corp. I'm a socialist, and I got really obsessed with the idea of public broadcasting and all that stuff too, right? And what it means that you can like you can buy a $2 radio in Iqaluit and hear the CBC. That meant a lot to me, right? But I'm always trying to balance it, And when I first started doing Q, I had like 3 years where I wasn't really playing a whole lot. I still do a gig every single week in Toronto, but outside of that, I was doing like the odd tour. I was like doing weekends. I was Burton Cummingsing it, like showing up at rural festivals and playing a couple of tunes. Or I was getting gigs. I have this gig I can do where I play rhythm guitar for fiddle players. It's this thing that I'm able to do. So I was getting hired to do those kind of things. But in the past year, I kind of got a little bit more. That other side of me crept up a little bit more. So I went home and we made a record. But yeah, it's constantly a battle. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't. Because you don't want to. The last thing I want to be is not both those things at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you get something like Q, you transition into that. You succeeded Chad, but the show has like sort of this history, right?
No.
Like.
What do you mean?
No. I wasn't even going to go there. I was just going to say that it is this. It's an institution in some ways for modern sort of radio listeners. We can though if you want. The original host Jean sort of made it into this sort of a juggernaut, and obviously there's this whole load of thing.
Well, he got fired.
He lost his job. Yes, that's correct. And then obviously Shad comes along, and then you come along. But again, this is this sort of institution in some sorts that has sort of an existing format and a tone. Do you, going into a job like that, are you like, fuck, how am I going to sort of shape my sort of like, how am I going to put my personality on this? Or are you like, no, I just want to make it work for what this thing is? How do you approach it?
Because you are one of the most vicious texters I know. You're so wickedly funny. And then I see you talking in hushed tones on CBC Radio Q, and I just want to start a hashtag free Tom Power. I was like, what would you really say to Margaret Atwood in this situation?
No, you got to be able to get that out, don't you, bud?
Oh yeah.
You got to be able to do the the green room chat. You got to be able to say. It took me a year to figure out if I could do it or not. It took me a year to figure out whether I could even make this thing happen. I mean, the odds were kind of stacked against us. There wasn't a lot of a history. There was a lot of like conjecture and a lot of talk online that it wasn't going to work out. We had a hard time. I think it was challenging to get guests, and it was weird. So it took me a year to figure out if we could do it, if I could do it. It took me the second year to figure out like kind of how I want to do it, and then since then it's been just like, so now this is my fourth season. It's been like trying to execute that, just trying to figure out what I want the show to sound like, trying to bring more of me into it, trying not to find situations where I get up and do shows and I get to joke around and laugh, and people come up to me afterwards and go, I didn't know you were funny. What? I didn't know that, and that really that drives me crazy, but so yeah, it's the answer is it's a battle, but slowly by surely we've been trying to change it, but no, I never really wanted to. Obviously, like I want to understand there's a lot of people listening to it, and that it's a different service. It's not something you choose, It's not something that like I press play on it for the most part like a podcast. It's a thing that's on. It's a public service, and I want to treat it as such, and I want to be respectful of the people that are listening to it. But that being said, yeah, I want to try to figure out a way of my own, and things have been going well. It's been a nice year. We've had a good one.
When a gig like that comes along, though, you say yes immediately, right? Like how do you frame in your mind? Are you like, this is a major opportunity, or was there any like, maybe I pass? Like are you like, this is huge? Like I got to do this.
I said no. Like I didn't want to do it. They came out. I didn't really want to do it, and then I didn't want to. You said no at first. Well, yeah, they came out and said, "Do you want to host Q?" I said, I don't know, because there was already a host of Q at the time. It was that weekend, and they said, no, Chad's going to leave, and I said, well, let me talk to him first. So it was.
Had you guys been friends before that?
Yeah,
yeah. Relationship.
Yeah. So
was it a difficult conversation?
No, it was great. He's amazing.
Chad's the best. We saw Chad the other week.
Yeah, he's former podcast.
Let me turn my phone off. Again, just breaking all the professional
come on.
broadcaster rules.
Yeah,
By the way,
we're a
I'm nodding.
Doing it for 4 years.
I'm doing. I
Still
know.
don't know.
It was a hard. Well, no. I mean, like, I just kind of wanted to make sure that he didn't feel like he was getting fucked over, and I said I'm not going to take the job until I talk to him and make sure he's not feeling like he's getting fucked over, because I'm not fucking over my buddy. And he sat me down. I'll never disclose what we talked about except to say that he was encouraging, and he said I should do it, and some nice stuff there. And we talked for about an hour, and then I came out of it and I said, fucking let's do it, you know? Yeah. So it was kind of contingent on that. You know, it was also a conversation about my life. It was a conversation about what my life has completely changed now. Like my life is very much Q, you know, it's a lot of time, it's a lot of research, it's a lot of different kinds of things that, I had to figure out. So yeah, I mean, it was a change, but it's been great. It's been fucking good.
You mentioned green room conversations. Your personality comes out. As an interviewer, how do you get guests to sort of open up in the allotted time you have? Do you have tricks? Do you think that it's inherent to your personality that you can make people feel comfortable, or have you sort of like learned ways to loosen people up on air in a situation where otherwise they might not want to sort of be open?
I think if there's any things that have gone well for me on Q, they have been a result of the stuff I was talking about before, which is the training I have in folklore, which is that I learned that when I wanted to, I'm not a journalist. I didn't go to journalism school. I don't have a background in journalism. If I left Q, I don't think I'd continue on in journalism, you know, but I know that I did a degree in being able to sit down across from people who were fishermen, you know, and people who had not lived lives where they were in schools, or and they were not in archives like I was, and I had to let them know that I had good intentions and that I wanted to help them tell their story, and that I needed them to trust me, and I had to actually mentally also get to I had to do a lot of self work to go like, hey, I'm not actually here to get the result. I can't be about getting the result, because if I do that, then it's Machiavellian. If I come in here and I go, I need you to sing the song, and so I can put it in a fucking archive, and I find out a bunch of ways to like warm you up so I can get that thing. That'll make me feel kind of shitty, you know. I'll feel shitty. I'll feel manipulative. So the training I ended up doing and the work I ended up doing was just how to just trust people and let them trust me, and work with them on what we wanted to get from one another, and be open and honest about what we want to get from one another. And I think that's led me to the kind of style I have, which is when people come in, I just try to fucking talk to them. You know, I don't treat them like anything that they're not. I don't. I just say, how you doing, bye? When'd you get in? I feel them out. If you start feeling if they're a bit, they had a hard flight, we talk about that for a little while, and I'll say to them, listen, I learned this from Terry Gross. I got this. I said, I don't know why I'm talking like Foghorn Leghorn right now, but I'll say, great reference, Tom. So good for the podcast. So hip, buddy. So fucking hip. We brought the guy from the CBC in, and he brought up a cartoon from the 30s. And
Serial Joe.
It was really, really good. And Serial Joe. Yeah. I mean, I guess he's just focused on when they were relevant. The way I say, listen, we're not, we're pre-taping this. We're not live.
I've heard her say this.
Yeah. We can edit this. I'm gonna ask you some stuff. If it's anything too personal, just let me know. We can cut that shit out. I'm really happy you're here. I'm gonna say some stuff about you first, and then we're gonna talk. And I try and curse a little bit, because cursing puts me at ease. I feel like it puts them at ease. And that's, if there's one thing I try to do, is I try to actually curse a little bit.
That's a great tip.
I'll try to say like. Because even today, I was talking to Leah Michelle today from Glee.
Yes.
And I said, hi, Leah. She said, oh, nice to meet you. And I said, okay, good. And
she's like, hi, Tom. You're like, fuck you. I went too far.
I said, Leah, why don't you get the fuck out of that fucking studio? How dare you?
He's so at ease.
Don't look me in the fucking eye. And she was like, I feel so comfortable now. Don't sing your fucking songs. I don't want to hear it. I saw that documentary. She was like, it's not a documentary, Tom. It was a tightly produced show. It was really scripted. There was a band. There was not a documentary. I don't want to fucking hear any of that fucking fastball songs. So did they do fastball songs in Glee?
I don't know. Like, what's a big fastball song?
Was I out of my head? Was I out of my mind? Remember that one? How could I have ever been so blind?
Are you just guessing?
Or The Way?
Oh, I imagine they did The Way on Glee.
So
Producer Erica, look it up.
she said, producer Erica she did not flinch. That is the power that Max has over producer
She doesn't have a
Erica.
computer. She's just sitting there with headphones on.
Look it up. She didn't even look at him. And he just moved on. That was really good. That's good. It's kind of like, anyway. I said, how's it going in New York? And she said, good. And I said, fucking cold though, eh? And she said, yeah, fucking cold. And I feel like maybe that's a little thing I do.
Yeah. Are there any interviews or any behind the scene things that like sort of stand out? Like, sort of like, oh, this is like the story I tell over dinner where I'm like, oh, I sat down with so-and-so and that was a real sort of candid moment.
You got some big dogs.
Yeah, man.
That I'd tell here is the question.
I guess that's a good point.
I'd tell here. But I think...
Okay, you can exclude a name if the story is really good.
No, the one I do tell is very name specific.
Give us the shareable one.
Yeah, I got to figure out the shareable one. I got two that aren't shareable.
Can we do that off mic?
Yeah, we can definitely do that off mic.
Good.
Or you can just turn on a secret mic that I don't know.
Nah, we wouldn't do that to you, man.
You can Trudeau and Macron me. Still got it with the topical humor. There's let me see, man.
What was Ringo like?
Robert Plant walked up to our studio. Oh, Shane hates Robert Plant.
Shane is exiting on the Robert Plant story.
Shane took a sperm count test today. That's the next
We have a
segment.
whole other segment after
that might not be in this episode, but anyway, he's
all right?
meeting the doctor. Oh, no.
The doctors are coming to talk.
He thinks
about
he has
his count.
super sperm. That's
Yeah.
why.
Oh, go away.
Yeah.
He's trying to prove that he has.
You
the
know
best
what?
sperm.
When I looked at him, I said, "Looks like it to me." Looks like it to me. I said, "That guy looks like he's a virile man." And I said, "I wanted to keep it to myself, But now that you brought it up, I'm glad I can finally talk about it. Hold on, what were we talking about?
Robert Plant walks in to a bar.
I think I can tell the story. Whatever.
Good.
I think I can tell.
We'll cut it.
It's not that great. It's not that great, but it's okay. So our producer went out to pick him up. It was on a Saturday. And, we don't typically work in the studio on Saturdays. So it was exciting. He was coming in. Obviously, even if you're not a big fan, you're pretty excited that it's Robert Plant. And what I love is when folks who are famous come onto the show and they don't make any bones about being really, really famous, And he opened the limo, pulls up. My buddy's waiting out for him to come. And the limo door opens up and Robert Plant gets out. And he looks at him and he says, "Bet you never fucking thought this would happen, did you?"
That's what Robert Plant said.
And I want to go through life with that kind of confidence. I want to go through life where I walk in and go, "I bet you never thought this would happen, did you?" And they're like, "This is Harvey's, Tom. No one knows who you are, buddy, and you can build your own burger." But I've never had Harvey's.
I think when Marin had Obama on the pod, and Obama had to helicopter into Pasadena and then drive to Mark Maron's place, Marin asked a question like, "So riding the chopper, is this kind of scary? What's it?" Or something like that. And Obama's like, "If I were afraid of being on a helicopter, I don't think I'd be the president of the United States." Really?
I do like a. Notice you didn't do the voice there, Max. I want to say that. Notice that mine was okay.
Yeah.
But I understand.
We see Mark.
Yeah, I noticed that old Tom and Alan got lampooned pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But the former president of the United States
Backed off of
left
Obama.
Out.
Yeah, no, I would never besmirch that guy.
Left out. Yeah. Anyway, so it's yeah. We typically people are good. I like people when they're super duper famous because they got no fucks to give and they'll say anything and they're great and they'll open up and be nice. I like people when they're starting out because they got very few fucks to give and they're going to be fine. Sometimes when they're in the sort of middle of the run of their careers, they can be a little testy. But generally, everyone's pretty good, and even the testy people, you can have fun with that,
Absolutely. We get asked this a lot, but did you? I don't want to say what was your favorite interview, but did you interview anyone that you were like, wow, this is this is my definitive sort of pedestal person? I didn't think I'd sit down with this person, or like Robert Plant would say, I never thought this would happen to me. But is there anyone in particular that you went, that's the one, that's the go-to that when I'm 80 years old, I'm going to say, I sat down with that person and it meant some shit to me.
Yeah, but my answer is not going to be incredibly satisfying because I mean, there's a couple of people I still want to talk to, and like Conan is still kind of the number one on my list. Shane, all right? Where did he go? Was he good?
Oh, they're checking the sperm again.
Oh no!
No, I'm kidding. It's
Twice the
fine.
test is not a good sign.
Yeah, no. He's just waiting for the doctors.
Probably
I
because it's
think.
just busting out of the glass in the petri dish, just swimming all over the floor. Has a cape on, it's growing a beard.
The man's sperm is virile.
Already learning to talk,
Yeah.
hitting on people. Like, come on.
Come on.
Come on. Get out of here. Get out of here.
Yeah.
We're having a
You do
meeting
good
about
voice
Hudson and Rex. Get out of here. Is this a Hudson and Rex place?
I don't know. Is that a E1 kids show or something?
Hudson and Rex is a show. I think it's from E1.
Okay.
Where it's shot in Newfoundland, where it's a dog.
Oh, I've heard about
it's
the
a dog
show.
and a
I
detective.
heard it's good.
Yeah, I hear it's good too. I got to play. So I played banjo. I played banjo. My goal before I started in radio was to play. I was going to play banjo professionally. I was going to try and play the instrument, and I became pretty good at it. And I was pretty obsessive about it, and I was practicing a lot. And my hero was a guy named Bela Fleck, very famous banjo player, and I got to play banjo with him. He came on the show, and we asked if he would play with us.
And you jammed.
Yeah,
like,
we
on the
jammed
show.
together. We played a couple of tunes together.
Very cool.
And that was...
That was your moment.
I mean, that
Yeah,
was...
so disappointing. For
It
sure.
was, it was, and I played horribly. Yeah, it was a disappointment for him.
No. Disappointing for our listeners.
Yeah.
Yeah. Two of them went, Fleck.
Yeah,
Everybody
like,
else went. They just skipped ahead 15 seconds.
When are we going to get to the part about backstage of Marc Messier? When are those parts coming up? When can we get to the Marc Messier stories?
What's with you and Mark Messi?
I don't know.
what's
That's my
going on
go-to
there?
hockey player reference for you.
Oh.
Yeah.
I
I was eating Fritos with Marc Messier. We were in Aurelia.
Steve Martin plays some banjo.
Steve Martin plays the banjo. In the middle of my interview with Steve Martin, I started nerding out with him about the banjo. And I was also interviewing Martin Short, and he said exactly what you just said. Well, we've lost half the audience.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
He did a-
He said,
yeah.
We've lost half the audience.
That's a
They've
funny
gone
bit.
now, and I kind of had to move on. Do you like Martin Short? Do you think he's funny?
I do. I thought their special together actually had a lot of really good moments. You?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I mean, he's an icon. He's from Hamilton. We're all from Hamilton.
You guys are all from Hamilton?
Yeah.
Well, most of you guys are from Hamilton?
Well, Shane and I are from Hamilton originally. Max lives in Hamilton.
You moved back?
I moved back, yeah.
How do you find it?
Good, actually.
I went to your bar.
Thank you.
You were at odds?
Yeah, I
What
went
were
to
you
your
doing
bar. Jesus Christ. Last year?
What were you doing in Hamilton?
Meg and I were going out to... I went to get Nexus
That's why?
in Niagara.
Oh, in the okay.
And I was on the way back, and I stopped in because I don't get to spend any. I'm not from Ontario.
Yeah.
I've only been to Peterborough once in my life, and I said I should probably see what this whole thing's about. I've only ever been to Hamilton for gigs. I mean, stay tuned, folks. This story's only going to get better. It started with me going to Nexus, so I mean, it's pretty great. I was on my way back, and I've never really been there. I only go to see shows every now and then. I went to your show at the football.
Yeah, that's right.
State.
Yeah,
Outdoor.
Yeah,
It's a stadium.
Tim Hortons
Stadium,
Field,
yeah.
Bigger than an arena.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a great show. I enjoyed that, and I went to see Jeff Tweedy out there a couple times, but I never really been out there. And I went to your bar.
Oh, thank you. You know what? Actually,
Daytime though.
Yeah. Oh, daytime. Yeah, it probably wasn't too bustling at that hour.
No, but it was good. I
Yeah,
had a
it's a cute
burger and
little
french
bar.
fries.
Yeah. The
And you know what? Just for mentioning it, I hear I get 15% off all future purchases.
That's right. We'll get your
And if
T-shirt.
you enter the code Tom Rules, you get to have to pay 15% extra to make up for my 15%.
Yeah, that's sort of how it goes, listeners.
Don't enter the code.
But shout out to there's an indie movie theater called the Playhouse Theater, which is an old cinema from back like in the 20s that just reopened recently
In Hamilton.
in Hamilton. I went to see Parasite last night. Finally,
How good?
so great!
Oh, you're on board.
It's the
totally
best
on
movie
board.
I've watched for Q.
Yeah. Oh, really? Interesting. Well, every critic is calling it the #1 movie of the year.
They had to start running it at the Varsity Theater here in Toronto like every hour. They took like half the other movies out of the theater because it was so popular.
Yeah.
Have you seen it yet, Mike?
Oh, absolutely.
Eric,
Yeah.
have you seen it?
I haven't.
You'd
I
like
have
it.
not,
You'd like.
no.
You should take once your boyfriend settles his gambling debts.
Yeah.
you should take that extra
Yeah.
bit of money.
He
you know,
saw
and-
it. He liked it.
Yeah.
He liked it a lot.
I
yeah.
bet he'll like it.
Oh,
Thank you, Erica. Appreciate it. That's good.
Let's get on to topics, though.
Let's do some topics.
Mike, thanks for the questions. I never get to. I know. It's you probably know this, but I rarely get interviewed.
Well, I mean, obviously you're on the other side of it, but you're great at answering the questions, and I think you have a fascinating story. And I think our listeners probably think that as well.
Well, I appreciate it. But it's nice. I know. I was on the way here, and I was thinking, It'll be nice to crystallize my thoughts. It'll be nice to. I've never, sometimes these things can help you figure out what the fuck you're doing.
Yeah.
And I was on the way here, and I was going, I wonder what we're going to talk about. And thanks for your well thought out questions.
Well, Max does a lot of the, we do them together as a group.
Little prep work, yeah.
Say it again, Mike. Thanks for your well thought out questions. I really, really appreciate it. I'm only kidding, buddy.
Of course.
Hey, what are the topics we're going to talk about today? I skimmed them over on the text.
Okay, good. I was thinking, did I text it to him? Okay, I'm glad I did.
Yeah.
It's nice to be here, though. I was saying to Max that we're becoming those people you hear about on podcasts because Max, Max is someone I've often saw as a friend and a potential better friend.
It's true.
If we could spend a little bit more time together.
I know.
We're always talking about it. We're always seeing one another.
When's the beer going to happen?
Oh, yeah.
And we did it last year.
We did
had a great
one.
time.
We did one. We had
Sneaky
a vodka
D's.
soda at Sneaky
Yeah.
D's. And we were going to go to Jeff Tweedy.
And I fucked that up.
Yeah, you had to go fuck it up.
Yeah.
And then Max would be like, what are you doing? And I'm just kidding. He doesn't text me. But he'll be like, what are you doing? You want to go out? And I'll be like, I can't go out. So we're becoming those friends that will meet up on each other's podcasts.
I hope that this is the first step to us all getting together for a drink.
Yeah, and I want to see Drunk Tom come out a little bit more often, which we don't get to do. In this setting,
God, I like to party.
Yeah.
Well,
I know. I mean, you're a responsible working adult, and you have a morning show, so you have to be pretty sharp, and you have to do a ton of research. But we'll find you on a good day.
I'm good on I can go out on the weekends.
Okay.
I can do a weekend. Can Shane come?
Oh yeah.
Well, I'm impressed that you did Shane research. I think he was a little shook that you knew about his Conan love. Are we bringing him back for topics? Erica, can you go see if he's coming back for the topics? Yeah. Thanks so much. Before he comes... Oh, Max is going to go do it. Cool.
Erica, how are you doing?
I'm great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How long have you been working here?
Since the spring.
And is this all you do?
No.
What else do you do?
This is my passion project.
Oh, that's nice.
I also work at MLSE with Mike's sweet brother Greg.
Your brother works for the Toronto FC group?
He does.
Yes.
He produces the that show All for One about the TFC, like that documentary you see. He shoots all that and puts it all together. And
All right, we have 12 minutes. So let's get to it.
What happens in 12 minutes?
There's a big sperm test that's about to happen.
yeah.
Yeah, sorry. This has been poorly planned. I'm sorry.
I heard about it. I hope
Yeah.
you're doing all right there.
This is Shane.
I'm not in trouble or anything. I already have a kid.
Shane, do you want to talk
By
about the
looks of you, buddy,
dynamics
I don't think you have too much to worry about. For God's sake.
of your doctors
My
and stuff
God.
now, or should we save that for off?
I got a bit of time. I mean, if you got to go do something.
No, I've already done it.
Done what?
Jerked it.
Hold on. I really thought I was getting something a bit more medical than that.
I'm trying to make you more comfortable, man.
Yeah, nothing makes me feel more comfortable than that answer.
Don't worry, I just jerked it.
Just had a fucking tug.
Blew a fucking load.
Sorry, guys, like right there.
Sorry. So are we going to do some topics and then we'll maybe get to the doctor?
Sure, yeah.
Topics, yeah.
All right. So the first thing is Celine Dion is in town right now. Thanks, I'm
Well, just because I wanted Tom to talk about this, so this is Tom relevant.
Of course, that's why I'm bringing him up. Celine played last night in Toronto. She's doing a second night tonight. And it seems, if social media is correct, that this is the greatest show that anyone has ever seen. Tom, you were at the show last night.
Yeah, I was. I went to see Celine Dion.
Did you feel like it was an exceptional show?
Yeah, I really thought it was incredible. I thought that I was watching someone who is the best at something do the thing they're the best at.
Well, the Nut, who's our friend, who's going to be on the
Excuse me?
show. Well,
Ironically, his name's the Nut, and he also has participated in this. No, Shane's not the Nut, but the Nut was part of the project with him.
Yeah, he just texted Ash and I. He said, I mean this in the most complimentary possible way, but Max and Celine Dion are the same type of performer. Like Celine, Springsteen, and Max.
Okay, so our friend the Nut has put Celine Dion, Bruce Springsteen, and Max Kerman in the same category.
Some people call him hyperbolic, but, I'll take the compliment.
Tom, how do you feel about that?
Well, I've often said that you, Bruce Springsteen, and Celine Dion are exactly the same.
So you and the Nut speak
I'm
the same
glad
language.
me and the Nut are finally
Aligned
still online. As we've been distant for so long. I think that you, not to
No,
to
it's not about me.
bread,
Keep talking
but
about
I
Celine
do
Dion.
think that you value performance, and I thought she valued performance as well. She treated the audience with a tremendous amount of respect. I really loved the show. It was not more than it needed to be. It was someone, again, from a small town in Quebec who grew up kind of poor, who realized early that she had a gift, and I watched that gift. That's what I felt like.
What made her so endearing to the crowd?
She's pretty funny. Did that come across in the banter?
Yeah, she's weird. And have you ever met her? She's weird and funny. Hey, she's weird. And there was no scripting of the banter. You go to see shows, and you realize that this is, they've said that. I mean, I don't know if this is something you do, but you go, they've said that before. You know what I mean? This might be their thing. If that was the case, then it's pretty wild.
She's amazing at it.
Pretty wild improvisational comedy she was doing, because it was like she was just walking out and she was talking about the Raptors, and then she was like making weird jokes, and she was making jokes about water, and then she just kind of pause and sing the biggest song of all time in perfect voice. And it was just nice to watch her, because my missus is a singer, and she trained as an opera singer, and she pointed to me at one point and she said, like, what Celine Dion is doing there is exactly how one should sing. It's the perfect example of what you're supposed to do when you hit a high note, how you're supposed to breathe. It's a clinic. It was so great. It was so positive. It was so happy. Everyone just felt like they were having a moment together. There was no cynicism. There was no negativity. I just
What's the
loved it.
demo like in the crowd?
A lot of in house-o.
Like, what's the age? Like, guy to girl?
A lot of guys.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
a lot of guys. Yeah.
Like, a lot of gay guys?
I would say a lot of
Yeah.
gay guys. Yeah. A lot of older women. I'd say Mississauga
Sure. Yeah.
moms.
Well, I went to see J-Lo, and there was like every 905 mom that was getting done up with all their girlfriends.
What's the 905?
905, like anything that's from like, I'm being sort of stereotypical here, of course, but like anything from like Ajax, Oshawa, all around the city, Markham, Milton, Mississauga, Oakville, like everything around the 905.
So not downtown Toronto.
Yeah, 416 is downtown 905.
Yeah, I think that might have been the vibe. But just, before the video, I've never seen this before. Like, it was before the concert started. I don't feel like I've been talking this whole time.
No.
Is that right?
That's why you're on.
Okay, cool. So there was a screen, and it said the word "Courage" on it, which is the name of her album, and something you possess a lot of with what you're about to go through, my friend. and they would take the camera.
Talking to Shane.
Talking to Shane there. Sorry about that. Again, professional broadcaster. They would put a camera on random people in the audience and just play music. There was a guy who was opening up the show, the DJ who opens up for Celine Dion. His name is DJ Pete. And DJ Pete,
Fancy.
apparently, like a Hotmail address, got the name early. You know what I mean? Like when you're like those people who get like Mike at hotmail.com.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, he's the fucking third guy ever to have a Hotmail account. This was DJ Pete, because he must have just got the name early, because he was like, that's it, that's my name now, I'm DJ Pete. So DJ Pete opens up the show. He's wearing like a Leafs jersey, and they go to people in the crowd, and they were playing like old disco songs, and people were just dancing. And we all started, the crowd started cheering for them. The show hadn't even started yet, and everyone was in, and everyone was like, someone would get up and they'd do like a video battle between two random dancers in the crowd, and we'd all start cheering for one over the other. So we were already really hyped. It was great.
What a great vibe.
It was, if you want a night of, like, I challenged the most cynical, hard-nosed Interpol fan to go to whether the police organization or the band, to go to a Celine Dion show and not feel incredibly moved.
Man.
Do you know anything about Celine Dion, Erica?
Yeah.
We always like to
I love
poll
her.
like the 23-year-olds in the room just to see.
Yeah, some of the folks who work on Q are around your age, and
Yeah.
it is it can be frustrating for me sometimes.
Oh my God, why?
Because I'll be like, like Eiffel 65.
I know them. I'm blue.
Dabba-doo-dabba-dow.
Yeah.
Good work.
Yeah.
So what do you know about Celine Dion?
I don't know a lot about her, but I like the bangers. It's all coming back to me now.
That's a great
She
song.
opened with that.
So good.
Oh, really? And also, That's the Way It Is that what it's called?
Second song.
I love that song. And when you listen to that,
Max
you're
is reading the set list right now.
but the
an intermission. That's a great one. Love that. Love that song.
The Power of Love was on my like second generation iPod forever. Like I had 3 Celine Dion songs just in my shuffle. Oh man. Just because I think her voice is actually phenomenal. When they started advertising this concert on, like I watched a lot of Raptors on NBA or a lot of NBA TV Canada. For some reason, they were running the ad a lot, like 2 nights at the Scotiabank Arena, and I was like, this is interesting. And I turned to my wife and I was like, this would actually be a really cool show to see. For whatever reason, it didn't work out. And after last night, I'm like, how in the hell do I get my ass in tonight's show? But I don't know, guys. Last minute.
You might be able to. I was listening to the radio this morning.
Some
and they said-
scalpies?
Yeah, I think you might be able to go down.
What time's the show start last night?
10 after 8, DJ Pete, 7:40.
I might miss
Nice.
DJ Pete, but maybe I can make it for Celine tonight.
Yeah.
Anybody want to do it with me?
I'm going to see Frank Turner tonight.
Oh, he's in town.
You ever seen him before? You know, you should really go check out. You should really think about. No, that would be a great, unique experience for you. I think definitely worth it. What's that? That show must be good, hey?
It's actually this hardcore band, Mangle Horde, that's doing the show.
Oh yeah, right on.
I'm a big Horde fan.
He covers a John K. Samson song.
He does, yeah.
I didn't know. I was trying to learn the words to that song the other day, and I found a version of Frank doing it. The Heart of the Continent.
Yeah,
he does a good job on it.
Shane, do you know anything about Celine Dion?
Recommend it, Mike. If you can get someone to go with you, and even go by yourself, bud, it's great.
I would.
Yeah, I'd go with you, but I went last night.
You want to go again?
No, I got to go to dinner.
Oh.
I'm going to Toroni.
Toroni.
AKA the fanciest restaurant a Newfoundlander has ever heard of. ever heard of. It is exactly what we think a fancy restaurant.
One of the best gifts manager Ash ever got from me are the hot peppers. You can buy the hot peppers from Toroni and take them home. I recommend you doing that, and you can put them on everything when you get home. It's very good.
I don't think we've ever had the hot peppers at Toroni.
Yeah, so I highly recommend.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Deal. Max was asking if Shane's a fan of Celine.
I like her. I think she's very funny in a cute way, and she's got a good voice.
Do you think that
It's my hot take.
hot take?
Whoa, Shane! When Shane comes in,
Back
watch
off
out
a little bit there, buddy. My God.
Let's go. We have 5 more minutes or 3 more minutes.
Well, our second topic: an NBA player wanted to lose weight. He drank beer. That's the headline in the headline in the Wall Street Journal. Detroit Pistons center Andre Drummond embraced an unusual summer diet: 1 beer a day.
What I didn't understand about the article was that all he was having?
Well, I don't know. That's a great question. They got to clarify why the diet works, really.
Did you just read the article? Did you just read the headline or the article? Rather?
No, Shane, I've been busy today. I haven't read the whole
Trying to
thing.
scalp up a couple of Celine Dion tickets.
I'm already on fucking StubHub here trying to find Celine tickets. No, unlike Tom, who researched you, I did not actually read the full article. I just thought the headline was funny. Max, did you read it?
I did read it. My recall's not great. But, basically...
This sounds like a guy lying in a book report.
That did not work for me with Animal Farm. I don't know if you think it's going to work for me now. Well, I don't recall it very well. I got the old brain, the old noggin's not working. Something about a pig and Trotsky. I don't know. It's pretty good, though. My recall's not that good. 4 hours ago.
What was it again? He basically
he'd
have it. He wouldn't eat breakfast. That's in the thing, and then he'd be very hungry, ravenous after his morning workout. And then his NBA teammates were asking him if this diet worked, and he says he doesn't recommend it to everybody, but it seems to work for him. It was a way to get calories back in your system very quickly right after you're done working.
But you don't know the details of the diet. He skips breakfast. We know that.
He's not eating red meat anymore either. He's eating like fish.
But is it just beer?
No. But it's like mostly fish.
Okay.
And he's cut out red meat, and he has 1 beer a day.
Right.
Yeah.
Steve Nash used to do a beer after every game.
Yeah.
He had like a Molson back there. Also, it's easy to drink a beer a day, or even maybe more, if you're like 7'1" and 270 pounds.
Yeah, and you're also exercising 3 hours plus, like in an vigorous way.
Doesn't Steph Curry eat a lot of popcorn?
I think so, yeah.
He does love
but it's not like a low-cal snack.
It
It's not
is.
like kind of the best snack you can have.
Yeah. Unless you load it up with movie theater butter.
Well, he gets it from the arena, and he has a ranking in his locker. Like he has a ranking on his phone or something like that of all the best popcorn per arena. And I think
he does.
Toronto does pretty good. Like I think we're 10.
That's it,
or
like
5.
NBA Reddit.
We'll
kind
take
of
that.
news
That's such
story.
like a Canadian thing to be like, hey, we're number 10 with Steph Curry's rankings. Did you hear that, guys?
It's going to be on the toonie. It's going to be good. Yeah. the Mods popcorn on the 3rd floor of the Raptors game. I've only been to 2 Raptors games. I did enjoy them.
What?
I enjoyed them.
Like, you've only been to 2, though.
Yeah, I've been to 2. I got a kick out
How
of
long
them.
have you been in the city now? 4 years?
8.
2 Raptors games.
Yeah.
Do you want to go to a Raptors game together?
Yeah, I'd love to go to a Raptors game.
I'm a big fan. I feel like it'd be a fun experience if we went to a Raptors game.
But
I'd love
he
to
takes
go,
it's
yeah.
a real point of pride for Mike to take newbies, not that you're a total newbie, but to Raptors games and like walk them through it. He won't shut up the whole time, but you'll learn a lot.
Need that. I went with our friend, Jason Burns.
Yeah, of course.
Went with our friend Jason. He took me to a playoff game. I had a great time.
We've
Nice.
hooped with Jason Burns.
Yeah.
He's the big. He's like a center. You'd know him if you saw him, Shane. He used to drive us back to Hamilton from the Toronto games.
Is that your Uber?
Shane is looking at his phone
okay,
currently.
they're in now. Okay, sorry.
No worries.
Cool. We played with the big guy? Yeah. I am not really here, by the way, right now, Tom. I'm sorry.
After I did all that research.
Yeah. So he called you a newbie, or Max did. How do you feel about being called a newfie? Is that very offensive?
Yeah, I'm not crazy about it,
Yeah,
but it's not very offensive.
No, it's not? Okay.
No, because I don't really like it. I don't like it when people call me that. I have a bunch of feelings and emotions about the way it makes me feel and what I think people might really be saying when they say it.
Because the connotation is you're a dummy.
Yeah,
right?
The connotation I always say is that if I told you that the president of the University of Toronto is a Newfoundlander, you'd be like, oh, that's interesting. And if I told you that the president of the University of Toronto is a Newfie, your brain would just do something a little bit different. Just a little bit different.
Yeah.
Your brain would just do a little little bit of gymnastics a little differently. But there are people who work really, really incredibly hard on oil rigs in Alberta and in like tough, hard scrabble jobs. People who are from Newfoundland and have lived incredibly proud lives and are very, very proud to be called Newfies. I don't want to eliminate their experience at all. I don't want to be offended on their behalf. Personally, not crazy about it.
Right.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Good answer.
Thanks, bud.
Yeah.
I see Obama do that.
And if Max could do the voice, that would actually be doubly good.
Yeah.
I know you're thinking about doing the voice.
No, I
can
won't
tell
do it. Yeah, was my now I'm self-conscious. Did my imitation of Alan Doyle offend you?
No, you're well loved. You came from a good place.
Yeah, and I really do admire the way Newfoundlanders communicate and the style of storytelling. Everyone seems to be like just your grasp of the language is just different than Ontarians. You know what I mean? It's just like a different way of thinking, and your expressions are different, and you're a very social people. Do you know what I mean? Like I know I'm sort of generalizing here, and so I say that with affection. And I remember the first time I ever went to Newfoundland, I was just like turning a corner. I was leaving George Street, going back to the hotel. It was like 2 a.m, and I just remember like a pack of dudes kind of walking by me and going, "Hey, fella, watch out for them blue shirts." I was like, "What?" And then someone had to explain, it's like, watch out for them blue shirts, which is watch out for the cops around the corner. Just give me a heads up. And I was like, that is such a hilarious thing to give me a heads up on. They didn't need to do that.
I remember hearing about that. You had 2 sacks with dollar signs on them. I remember hearing it. It's a legiondary story.
Post heist.
Yeah. He was walking. It was 2 p.m. 2 sacks with dollar signs on them. And he's wearing a white and black striped shirt.
Broken out of
and
jail.
a Zorro mask. Yeah, and he was the repo man.
Yeah.
From wrestling.
Well, Tom, thank you so much for coming on here. We very much appreciate it.
Well, no, it's a joy to be here. I've never, like I said, I don't get to do this very often. I watched your guys' television show when it came out because Max is a bud, and he posted about it a couple of times. And I said, all right, well, I better fucking watch it. So it's nice to be here. Nice to see you guys in real life, and nice to see where you guys do it. It's nice to be somewhere other than my own office.
Well, I appreciate it. And when I see you on the street, I hope we say hi, give each other high fives.
Well, yeah, because you look like you're going somewhere, and I have often thought about going, even at your show, and I had a couple of Pepsis that night. You know what I mean, right? And I had a couple of Coke Zeros, and I saw you guys, and I said I must go over and say hello, but I couldn't do it. I don't know if you find this.
Why do we do that though? I do the same thing. I won't do that, but we should do that more.
Very,
as
very
people.
painfully shy, in a way that you wouldn't necessarily predict.
Right.
I am. Yeah.
Well, come up, say hi. I'm going to come up to you next time. Now I'm going to be proactive because I'm
going to go to a Raptors.
All right, enough. We got to go.
Welcome to our segment here on Mike on Much. You've heard it before. It is called Taste Buds, where we discuss a single subject debating good taste or poor taste. Because good things come in threes, Jameson, Ginger, and Lime, and podcast hosts, Max, myself, and Shane. All 3 of us will weigh in with 3 unique opinions that suit our tastes. Guys, today we are talking about New Year's Eve, and specifically New Year's Eve plans. Good taste, poor taste, somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I got to say, I kind of hate New Year's Eve. And I've had a lot of amazing experiences on New Year's Eve. Like our guitarist Mike D got married on New Year's Eve.
Shane and I were at that wedding.
Yep.
Great wedding.
Our friend Meg's getting married this New Year's Eve.
Shouts to Meg.
Yeah. Our Kells have played some very memorable gigs. But I just find the conversations around what to do on New Year's Eve plans to be completely exhausting. And the holiday itself is so overrated, and there's so much pressure put on it, which seems ridiculous to me because I think I have like 2 to 3 nights a week I can go out and have an amazing time with my friends and, just like really enjoy each other's company. And the idea that like so much weight is put in New Year's Eve just annoys me because people get so uptight about it, and I just wish it didn't exist.
Do you know what I say?
What do you say, Shane?
Under 25, feel alive. Over 30, not worth the worry. But if it's in between 25 and 30, then it's kind of like up to you. But if you're in a relationship or something, just chill out and enjoy that time at home. Otherwise, it's just such a hassle. So it is age dependent is the way I look at it. Like I had a lot of fun 25 and under. I enjoy being out there on the streets fighting for that cab. It's kind of fun. You're talking to people. You're having a laugh. But otherwise, when you get to a certain age, it's just annoying. You know?
Yeah, I find New Year's Eve tends to be a lot like St. Patrick's Day, where it's like amateur hour. It's like people that don't normally party go to an 11. And so you're surrounded by like sort of like this mass influx of people giving it everything they have for one night. So it is difficult to be out on New Year's Eve, I find. But again, this might be to Shane's point. Maybe it's a younger person's game. I don't know. So as I've gotten older, though, I actually like when there is like a wedding on New Year's Eve or someone's having a house party. It's close friends. Then it feels more like what Max is saying, that sort of that 3 nights a week where you hang out with good friends, where it's like, oh, our friend Julian's throwing a party on New Year's Eve. Awesome. We have plans, and we don't have to fight with cabs or be at a club or be doing that thing.
Yeah, when you feel like you've won New Year's Eve and you're not battling cabs or in some situation that annoys you, that's a great feeling.
Shake the pressure.
Yeah, I think because I'll say this: by the time we get to New Year's Eve, I usually have a good time. There's not too many New Year's Eves where I'm like, this was a fucking nightmare. I always end up having a good time, but if the segment is asking plans on New Year's Eve, and that goes into like the 3 weeks that everyone's talking about New Year's Eve, I fucking hate it.
Wow.
You're no plans on New Year's Eve.
Yeah,
man.
bad taste.
Poor taste.
Yeah.
Shaney.
Like I can't go in the middle. I have to go good taste or poor taste because I kind of stated it's age dependent. But hey, let's face it, I ain't getting any younger. Poor taste.
Plans on New Year's Eve, good taste or poor taste? Ooh. Depending on what you're doing, I like to know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Don't put pressure on yourself. You don't have to do anything insane, but
Classic Mike splitting it down the middle.
I want to know what I'm doing. Plans on New Year's Eve, good taste.
Good taste.
Whoa.
This has been Taste Buds. Did I blow some minds? Enjoy a Jameson Ginger and Lime, and thank you for listening.